Basically, this law was meant for e-commerce and e-business center. It never anticipated the other aspects. No doubt, in the object of the Act itself, there is a mention that this proposal to amend the basic conventional laws like Indian Evidence Act, IPC, CRPC, and some amendments have been carried out in IPC and Evidence Act, but subject to correction. There is no amendment or separate law so far as criminal procedure code is concerned, which is the backbone of our criminal justice system. It gives the procedure for the investigating agency how to search, how to seize a particular thing, how to produce it, how to what is the position of the accused when arrested, when he gets bail. Then comes the problem of the judge. And many times, jurisdictional problem, whether a police station has jurisdiction to arrest that person, file charge sheet against that person, and file a case against that person. Same thing in the district places. The judges have their own limitation under the criminal procedure code. They can't try a case which is beyond their jurisdiction. And because of this new type of technological interference, the problem is growing and growing. Basically, as it is stated, this is the criminal is a faceless criminal or invisible criminal. The criminal who may be your neighbor, next door neighbor, or your friend, or maybe, as it's often found, in any other country. The first question for the police, how to trace him out. Second, how to arrest him and subject him to our judicial system. All these aspects come within the purview of cyber security. Cyber security is nothing but protective measures to be taken from being the victims of cyber crimes. And as you are aware, every citizen has a right to be protected, both his life and property, and it is the sovereign duty of the state to protect it as well as provide effective machinery to prevent, to detect, and to prosecute the criminals and give help to the victims. Certain new peculiarities, though the cyber crimes as such are, most of them are modified conventional crimes. There are different features, like one I mentioned is invisibility of the criminal. Second is jurisdiction, and this is boundaryless field. The accused may be somewhere else, whether he is subjected to the law or not. For simple example, like pornography. In the United States, web hosting of this pornographic material is allowed. But in fact, in India, it's an offense. Now, how do you prevent that? All these aspects are required to be considered, and the eminent panelists would be highlighting these aspects enlightening us also on how to find the remedies. But what I feel, I was discussing with Colonel here, who is one of the panelists. The problem in India is we are just producing laws and laws and laws. But the correct implementation, correct procedure for all the stakeholders simultaneously is not being done. The stakeholders, common man, next comes the prosecutor who prosecutes this, investigating agency who has to trace, find out the accused, and lastly the judges who have to be trained. And the main problem is unawareness or ignorance of this new technology in this worst form. I hope and wish this panel discussion for the next 2 days with the eminent experts will give some food for our thoughts. Thank you very much.
We thank Justice Bannurmath for such an insightful keynote address. Clearly, there are many issues which require to be looked into, issues with regard to procedures, with regard to jurisdiction, with regard to the different regulations that need to be there in place. And this is why it's an apt time to have a conference like this so that we can contribute to the jurisprudence and ensure that something is done about this. I'm sure the audience is already looking forward to what is going to come, and I would like to welcome in the audience retired Colonel Matthews, Mr. Somsekhar VK, Mr. Apar Gupta and Mr. Saika Datta, who are also going to be speaking to us in the coming sessions. I would now like to hand over the session to Ms. Manojna Yeluri, who is going to moderate the first session on cybersecurity in India, what is the current scenario. Ma'am, the session is all yours.
We'd also like to thank Professor Subba Rao, who is the chairperson of the UGC Council, and we thank him for giving an inaugural address. Thank you, sir.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Data Protection and Cybersecurity Conference. First off, before we start off the session, I'd like to say a big thank you to all the panelists who are here, and also the, I could be wrong in the title, but the Law and Technology team, yeah? The Law and Technology Committee, yes. The Law and Technology Committee of NLSIU, because I think it's a wonderful effort, and hopefully this will be a really informative session for everyone. As Justice Bannurmath had actually informed all of us right now, data protection and cybersecurity are pretty much the key words today. With every passing generation, a whole bunch of people learn more and more about how the internet can be used, how data protection probably applies, and this is particularly important because now we're gradually entering an era where people also know how to misuse a lot of these things. And with respect to this, I think a greater degree of awareness is what sort of takes care of a lot of problems, because I personally prefer prevention rather than, reaching a state where you need to look for a cure. And in light of all of that, I think almost all of us panelists here sort of agree on this as well. And I would like to not waste any more of your time and go ahead and introduce the panelists briefly and go right ahead with the session. Before I go ahead and do this though, I would request all of you who have questions to please keep them to yourselves until after the speakers are done speaking. Each speaker will be allotted about 20 minutes, and then hopefully we'll have about 20 minutes of time for questions as well. And we're also available afterwards in case you want to ask any of us any questions. So let me first introduce to you our first speaker, Ms. Nappinai, who is involved in an incredible initiative known as the Technology Law Forum, She is a practicing advocate. She's been practicing for about 22 years, and she has a lot of expertise in the areas of corporate commercial law, intellectual property law, and criminal law. And the Technology Law Forum is essentially a non-profit which tries to spread awareness and education in technology, thereby creating links with legal education as well. She is based out of Bombay, but we're very grateful that she's decided to come here to join us. Our second speaker for the day will be Mr. Naavi. Now, where do I begin with Mr. Naavi? Mr. Naavi has many hats, and essentially Mr. Naavi is the founder of one of the biggest cyber portals in India, which maybe a lot of you already know. It's called the portal Naavi.org. And Mr. Naavi is a scholar who is very well aware of the problems that face cybersecurity today and cyber laws today, and will hopefully be giving us all a very good insight into what the current issues are and what we need to be looking out for. Our final speaker is Dr. Dr. Samir Kelekar, and Dr. Samir is he runs a consultancy firm, Technotrends Software Private Limited, and the most interesting thing with his talk today will be about exposing the vulnerabilities in current data protection systems. And hopefully in the course of his discussion, we'll also understand a bit more about the very highly acclaimed UID project, which is almost on everybody's minds right now. So without anything else actually to interrupt me right now, I think I will hand over the session to Ms. Nappinai.
Thank you. You know, the topic today is cyber security. In my mind, it's a bit of an oxymoron. You know, I come from a privileged generation which had no clue or had nothing to do with computers, mobile phones. For that matter, if you just had a landline, you were a privileged lot in our time. But then look at the flip side of it. I've grown up in a situation where it was perfectly safe for us to leave our doors open. I mean, anybody who's walking by the street, the first thing they would do is look around, oh, the door is open, so somebody's there, and they could walk in, right? You could sleep out there on the terrace. Nobody is going to, rob you or, commit any other crimes, heinous or otherwise. It was a safe world. You know, we knew what the outdoors looked like. We got ourselves plenty of sun. Yeah? So this is how we grew up. And then the world changed. It's no longer safe to leave your doors open. It's no longer safe to sleep on the terrace, right? I don't know if this is going to do a better job, but yeah, okay. So, you know, you had to put in some locks, you had to keep your door closed, you had to put in a doorbell, you had to put in a security guard, and then comes the next level, it's still no longer safe. So put in your alarm systems, put in an alarm system which will alert the police if somebody intrudes. Now this is the real world we inhabit. And we are now talking about the world in ether, the virtual world. And we are talking about securing that world. How are we going to really secure it? Is it really going to be possible for us to do something in the virtual world which we really are not or have not been able to do in the real world? Right? Is it something we really have welcomed? Or is it just something that we had no choice over? Yeah? So this is the world we live in. And, you know, the freedom that we enjoyed over, we really worked towards developing the, internet as a global phenomena. Today carries with it a lot of baggage, of securities, restrictions, and which and whatnot, because it has become a very unsafe place. So with that, okay, that's fine. I'll manage. Now, I think Justice Bannurmath has given us a fantastic fantastic introduction to the topic today. I was also looking at, when I was thinking cyber security, I was also looking at it from 3 perspectives. And here goes. Yeah? So, Justice Bannurmath literally has taken the words out of my mouth in highlighting the 3 specific aspects of cybersecurity as we see it. I've just put it in reverse because that's the way policymakers also seem to have looked at it. First is in terms of securing nations. The second, economic security, which is primarily to do with industries and all that. And the third, which I feel I fully agree with Justice when he says that personal security takes priority. I was delivering this session where somebody was talking about terrorist attacks and how serious they are and how we needed to focus more on that because that's what is going to cause, serious damage or harm. We have heard plenty about the millions of dollars or trillions or billions of dollars of loss that is caused, when there is a virus attack or a data theft issue, etc. And therefore, economic security takes priority. But at the end of the day, we are all human beings. Today, when we were, sitting aghast and watching the Mumbai terror attack, and I can tell you it was very close to home. Every single place that was attacked are places we could have very well been at, on any given day. So it really hit close. Despite that, your sense, of your reaction to it is at best, you're shocked, you're angry, you're upset. It's all still generic. But tomorrow, if you wake up to an SMS saying that your bank account has been cleaned out, you could have a heart attack, right? Which is not the reaction you would have when you just see other kinds of, intrusions or invasions. So this is reality today. So when we are talking about cybersecurity, whilst the other aspects, the 2 aspects of securing your nation or economic security would take priority in a macro level, personal security takes the center stage when it comes to micro levels. I'm kind of like trying to give you just a perspective today. I'm not here to talk about each and every section or provision and whatnot. I thought this is a time when we are talking policy. So I thought we could look at what is it that we are faced with and what is it therefore we need to provide for and how far have we come in providing for such security and how long is the road ahead for us. So I've just given very few and you all know that these are not the only examples of intrusions or invasions in each of these heads. But this is just those which I felt were the most serious of them all. When we are talking about national security, what are we looking at? We have instances of very serious attacks on critical infrastructure. You have instances of the Indian Railways Institute's mail server being hacked. And the reports are to the effect that we are lucky that it didn't go further, so you didn't have trains colliding with each other, etc. You have instances, this is a quote which I have taken from one of the executive directors who says, and this is according to me one of the most serious, some of the others which I haven't put here, the AAI, the Airport Authority, found a violation in its cargo holding server. If it had been the ATC, I don't think I need to tell you all what it could have resulted in. And the Nuclear Power Corporation of India says that it has 10 attacks every day. It's so serious that if we had to give it thought, we wouldn't get, we'd have more sleepless nights than, any sense of safety or security. We are here not to talk about the technological securities that people could put in place, but primarily with a focus on law. Now, what is the role that law can play to avert, like Manojna, I've practiced pronouncing a name, but I didn't know, again, I almost went wrong there. Like Manojna had pointed out, what is prevention is definitely better than cure, especially when you're talking nuclear. There's not going to be a cure for you if some disaster were to strike. So what is it that we can do do. One, from the technological perspective, which I'm not capable of speaking about, and two, from the legal perspective, which is like put the fear in people who are going to do something like this. That's the best you can do. Deterrence has to be the first step of any legal provision that has been put in place. Then comes, punishments or cures, etc. But please ensure that there is sufficient deterrence to stop people from indulging in these kind of activities. But what do we have? We will see going further down. This is just what the world has already seen. You have had attacks of not just one or two specific portions of the or verticals of governments, but literally like zero-day attacks, as they call it, where almost everything has been brought to a standstill because of the focused attacks on various departments. I'm not walking you through each and every instance, but we have had our very own attack too on that, which Justice Bannurmath in fact had already highlighted, where China is attributed with having attacked our specific ministries' emails to cull out the details of the army stationing, positioning and strategies, etc. And the reason why they suspect China is because the Indo-Tibetan border authorities' emails were also hacked, etc. So this is what we have in hand when we talk about national security. Some examples when we are talking about economic security now. Absolute recent, literally yesterday's hot off the oven news about the RPG group hacking instance, where XYZ crores are lost. Just a few days before that, you have your largest, or at least that's what they claim, banking fraud. And where has it emanated? December 2012 is when they say data was compromised from one of the places where data was compromised was from an Indian BPO company. What has happened between December to now? Why was this disaster not averted? No news out as yet. But fact remains that at the end of the day, when it is banks that are being affected, it still comes right back to us individuals and citizens. So this is where we stand. And what does the security experts say, Norton? That there are about 45,000 crores of loss that is being caused on an annual basis. And this is from a study they have taken of reported cases over a 12-month period. And it's still a fact that substantial number of cyber crimes are not reported, even though it may result in merely financial loss for reasons best known to the victim. But one could probably deduce that it could be because they do not have much hope or faith in results, right? So, this is just again another aspect of what could happen with data theft. In everyday life, we come across hundreds of cases on a daily basis. You have software companies which are suffering from data theft. You have banking companies. You have financial institutions. Pharma is the largest in terms of data theft, being a victim of data theft. What do we have today? And the sad part of it, when you look at the practicalities of it, is top management people have been seen to say, but this is work I did, so I took it. What you do does not mean you own it. You're doing it for an organization does not give you any proprietary rights over it. But that level of awareness, if it is not there with top management, then who do we blame? Do we blame the company or the individual? Where does it go from? There is, of course, the flip side of it, which is somebody is doing it knowing fully well what they are doing, but it is driven by monetary consideration. There again, law has to play the role of a deterrent entity and not merely as something you would look to after the horse has bolted. Personal security, I have personally come across innumerable cases which can go to the root of, it can really undermine your identity, your whole being. You have innumerable instances. These are just some of the, I would actually say, the simpler ones. The last few and the ones which you would come across in the next slide are the most shocking and scary ones. What are we faced with today when we talk about personal security? You go online, you have kids, children, I'm not even saying children, but kids who are right out there putting literally their entire life story for consumption of the public. I have come across, and I know this is about 5-6 years old, where a 11-year-old was celebrating her first year anniversary of her blog. And what does her blog have? A literal, minute by minute a recording of what is happening in her life, in the lives of her entire family. So it's all out there, and they don't even realize that, the use that it can be put to. What is the security that law, or for that matter technology, provides for this kind of information that is out there? Last week or so, I came across a report from the police authorities which is saying that they're going to encourage websites like Facebook which are locally set up. Is that really the answer? Is it not a time where, when we have acknowledged that we are nations without borders when it comes to cyber security, we must also have remedies without borders, remedies without red tape, and remedies without delays? Because unlike with a paper evidence, electronic evidence can disappear in the